all of us struggle with this, don't we? It's that mum guilt. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So I'm getting emotional now because I'm just looking at your face.
No, I had incredible postnatal anxiety. So my daughter learnt to walk when she was 3 years, 9 months, and it was the most amazing day. I'm going to try not to get choked, but you can imagine. Almost remove some of the guilt and blame that I had, that I was not doing a good job as a mum growing up. Why is my daughter not performing? What am I doing wrong?
Accept the situation. You've got that diagnosis now. You've got the kind of root cause for it. And it's working with your beautiful daughter to make sure she has the best life possible. And she's chosen the most amazing mum. She's got an amazing mum. And it's, I just can't. Sorry, is this me crying? This is not even my life.
Not to get too choked up, I've got a sore throat at the moment, and I think it's been such a journey, and I feel completely blessed that she's chosen me.
We can see what doesn't exist and choose to rise above what is.
mumtomillionaire.com.
Hello and welcome to the Mum to Millionaire podcast. This is where we support mums through adversity. And today we have got a blimmin' amazing lady. She's a relationship master coach, mum of one. It's Teresa Yup.
Hello.
Woo, 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 woo. Hi. Firstly, I just want to say you and your daughter are so beautiful, but not just externally, you're beautiful internally as well. And it just radiates out of your skin. You're always glowing.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Thank you very much.
Seriously, every time I look at you, I'm like, she's like flawless. And she's just always glowing of positivity as well. I love it.
And I did the school run this morning as well. Everyone must have been thinking, what is going on with mummy today?
I love it. And do you know what? I can't wait to talk to you today, because we're going to talk about something that if I didn't know you, Teresa, I wouldn't know that this existed. So I really want to use this podcast episode today to raise awareness and actually talk about your experience raising your daughter with this, and just to help other parents, because they might have a child, and we're going to say what it is in a minute. It's like, oh, what is this video about? But they might have a child, and as a parent, we have that instinct, don't we? We might look at a child and think, oh, okay, compared to the other children, there's what's kind of going on here. So we're going to talk about global developmental delay, so GDD. So before we get into your story, can you explain to us actually what is global developmental delay?
Yes, it's certainly a mouthful, isn't it? GDD. So
I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. I was like, saying it slowly.
So global developmental delay, when my daughter was first diagnosed with it, I had no idea what it was at all. So when my daughter came under the books of the community paediatrician, and after his assessment, he said that I believe that my daughter has global developmental delay. And I was like, so what does that mean? So typically what it means is when a child is not meeting the milestones that a child of the typical same age would meet. Now, this delay in terms of their development, it could be physical development, it could be learning development, communication, whatever that is, can either be quite short term or significant or profound. In my daughter's case, it's quite significant and profound. So where she is almost going to be 5 years old, where has the time gone? Oh my goodness. She is typically operating at half her age, so around a 2.5-year-old. So my daughter learnt to walk when she was 3 years, 9 months, and it was the most amazing day. I'm going to try not to get choked, but you can imagine, for a child who can sometimes start walking around 9 to 12 months, 12 to 2 years old, when Jada wasn't walking, was not crawling or doing anything like that, it was a huge concern for me. So for her to start walking at the age of 3 years, 9 months was just a huge miracle. Not only that, she's nonverbal, so she doesn't say any words whatsoever. However, her receptive communication is so great. She understands, and I cannot explain it, but I can understand her, she can understand me. And the way that she expresses herself through some wonderful sounds that she makes, she can point. Most recently, she has learnt to sign more from Makaton, which is a huge, huge development for her. So she's very, very behind in that. In terms of her learning capacity as well, again, still operating at even probably less than a 2.5-year-old. So that's generally what GDD is. It means that the child needs extra support when it comes to provisions, therapies, any support from charities in order to help them to thrive and to reach their fullest and their highest potential. It can be short term, it could be long term as well. Like in Jada's case, it's so significant that it probably will be a lifelong diagnosis that we have, or the prognosis that we have is that it's lifelong. So it is huge.
Yeah, it is. And I feel emotional just hearing you talk, because it must be, I mean, when you first got that diagnosis, how did you feel? Were there kind of any emotions that came up for you, or was it actually relief of like, oh, okay, now this makes sense and we can work with it? Because I think sometimes in life we're always kind of looking for that diagnosis. And I wondered, yeah, number one, how did it actually feel when you got it? And do you feel when you do have a diagnosis, does it make things better for you and your daughter?
Sure. So firstly, how did I feel? There was a sense of relief because there was a knowing. Ever since she was about 6 months old, you know, you got that mummy instinct and you're thinking, you're not quite hitting your milestones here, darling. I was in various different WhatsApp groups with new mummies because she's my first daughter, so first time mummy for me. And was in various different WhatsApp groups, and they're posting in videos, they're talking about how their children are meeting their milestones, who are the same age of Jada. And I'm thinking, something's not quite right. So I had a conversation with the health visitor at the time, and I said, could she potentially have autism? Because that's the first thing, that's a well-known condition. And I thought, you know, could she have autism? And at that time, the health visitor was like, it's so early to predict or to diagnose, but I had something in me. Now, at the age of 18 months, she was referred to a community paediatrician. And when he said global developmental delay, it was like, oh, I just knew that there's something. I had no idea that it was even a recognized disability. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
So when he said it, it was like, oh, okay, a bit of a relief. So what can we do about it? And it was potentially there's no cure. It's not treatable. It's not like you can go get them a piece of medication or an injection, or they go through some sort of surgery and suddenly it's all corrected. It was, you have to take each day as it comes. Now, as a mum, you're like, oh, okay, there's no certainty. I remember when Jada was little, you know, you get those little milestone cards where you can fill out 8 months they've done this. My cards were pretty much empty. And yeah, that was really hard. So to still have that empty feeling, as in I still am not able to tick off things, was a bit like, that's great diagnosis, but then equally I'm still in limbo. I have no idea what to do. But got some great provisions in place for her from the age of 18 months that gave me that clarity. I thought, now I know what I'm working with. And most recently as well, last week, we went through an extensive period of genetic testing for my daughter. And I was like, okay, that's great. We've got the outcome, and they have actually got a definitive finding. She has a very rare genetic condition, actually, and it's called MED13L syndrome or disorder. Now, MED13L is a gene that has become mutated or distorted along the conception process. It's not inherited, it's something that happened, and Jada has got this condition. Now, in a world of 7.9 billion people, there's only about 70 known cases in medical literature. It's that super duper rare.
Wow. And you know what? She is that super special.
She is.
That's special.
superstar, super special. Trust you, baby girl, to have this super rare condition. I absolutely love it. Okay, yes, you read up about this whole prognosis and lifetime of physical impairment, intellectual impairment, communication impairment. You see all that and how it looks on paper, and you think, "Ugh," you know, she may never be fully independent. She may be dependent. We just don't know. But now we can link a genetic condition to the global developmental delay. We've got an underlying cause now that has helped me to understand and almost remove some of the guilt and blame that I had, that I was not doing a good job as a mum growing up. Why is my daughter not performing? What am I doing wrong? You know, all of those feelings, and it's like, it's genetic now. It's almost like a release and an acceptance process I've been going through since getting that diagnosis.
Oh God, do you know what? There's so many emotions that's involved in that process alone, isn't it? And again, when you kind of got that diagnosis, and actually maybe even before, and you were looking at those other children, and you mentioned it there, and all of us struggle with this, don't we? It's that mum guilt. It's like, oh my God. So I'm getting emotional now because I'm just looking at your face.
No, I had incredible postnatal anxiety because of this. You know, being a first-time mummy, as it is, you know, how, you know, challenging and stressful it can be, let alone when a child isn't hitting the milestones and other children are. It's a guilt. What am I doing wrong? What can I do better? What can I do differently? So it's such an emotional time.
It is. And I think this is why I think it's so important for women like yourself to just keep on speaking about it, because you do it so beautifully and so in a positive light as well. Because when something happens in our life, it is very easy, and I believe the human default is negative. Why has this happened to me? And it's always just focusing on that. But when you said that word there, it's accept the situation. You've got that diagnosis now, you've got the kind of root cause for it, and it's working with your beautiful daughter to make sure she has the best life possible. And she's chosen the most amazing mum. She's got an amazing mum, and it's I just can't. Sorry, is this me crying? This is not even my life.
Not to get too choked up, but I've got a sore throat at the moment, and I'm thinking it's been such a journey, and I feel completely blessed that she's chosen me.
Yeah.
As well. You know, she's chosen me. I've chosen her. I completely believe in that energetic alignment, because we are meant to do this journey together.
Yeah.
I believe in miracles. I believe in defying all odds. She's got some amazing superpowers as it is, and gifts. She can do something which is really incredible, which I discovered during the last lockdown, is that she can recognize words. Wow. And I was teaching her some words. I was writing it down, and I was saying the word on her magna doodle, and I was wiping it off and saying the word, wiping it off. And one day I was choking. I wrote the word light on, and I had to do a cough. And she looked at it and she pointed to the light. And I said, did you just point to the light without me even saying the word? So I wiped it off and I wrote door. And I showed it to her, didn't say it. She pointed to the door. And I was like, you can recognize words without me even saying it. So we can teach her a new word. She processes it. I say it a couple of times, wipe it off, write it again. She'll point to it. She would do it for you, Vina. Like, she has got this phenomenal superpower and gifts, and I'm sure there's so much more that we don't understand about her. That, you know, it's just such an amazing to find out these things.
Oh, it is. And I believe in that completely as well, that children, you know, they choose us before they come here. And she just looked at you and thought, that's going to be my mum, because she is going to help me live my best life. And
and I'm going to be, as we were saying just before we jumped onto this video, a peaceful warrior mum.
Yes. I think this
at certain times,
courtesy of Teresa, I think this is going to be our word for the Mum to Millionaire podcast. It's being a peaceful warrior. Because when you just say, I usually say, hey, beautiful warriors. And I love that word peaceful as well, because it is hard. you know, when you're, and we're going to go into more of your story actually, because and I love it when people have positive experiences, you know, with getting help and support, because unfortunately a lot of the women I've spoken to on this podcast, it's just heartbreaking, just them fighting for years and not getting the support for their child. So I'm so happy we've got a story where you've got that support in place, and we're going to give helplines and the charities that have helped you as well. And actually I wanted to go back to something you said about the you know, when everyone's writing the milestones, you can do that now, Tarisha. You can still write, you know, when she was 3 years, 9 months, she took her first steps. When she was 4, she started to recognize words. Like, you're just doing it in your own way.
I am, exactly. Jada does not fit the literature. She does not fit the books at all in whatever she's doing. So yes, I've got a nice little gratitude journal that I write down for her, whereby I put down these milestones for her. And also daily, we do affirmations. I tell her that, I say to her, I say, you are strong, you are beautiful, you are powerful. And I just affirm all of these words to her. I say her name and I say, you are strong, you are smart, you are beautiful, and we sing it. And so, yeah, I've got my own milestone book, that's for sure.
Brilliant. Do you know, I think we're like some kind of soul sisters, Tarisha, because that's what I do with my son as well. And this is a great tip, I think, for any parent. And I know we're all busy, we're rushing around, we've got so many things to do, but taking those 5 minutes wherever you can, and I try and do it with my son, and it's not always consistent. Like sometimes I'm knackered, I'm like, I'm just going to bed, mate, I can't deal with this today. But I try to do as much as possible doing that gratitude, because it rewires your mind, and it starts putting you into that more kind of higher self as well. And doing that with your child, Tarisha, at such a young age, she's going to grow up instilled with so much confidence. And, you know, if a mum's watching this and they're like, I haven't done it, it's okay. Start doing it now. You can start really simple, can't they, with like one thing you're grateful for as a mum, one thing the child is grateful for, as Tarisha does, and myself, the affirmations, you know, with my son, I always say, like, I am calm, I attract incredible opportunities into my life, all of these things that the kid needs. And if your child is suffering with that kind of low self-esteem, because my son's mental health has deteriorated a lot at the moment, and I just say things like, I make him say, I love myself, and he struggles, like he can't say it, but I make sure I say it every day to him. I get him to, you know, repeat, I love myself. You know, I'm proud of myself. Like I said, I attract incredible opportunities, and it's so important, isn't it, if we just say that one thing to them, you know?
Say that one thing, and to do it as often as possible, because there's a power of repetition. And I also have an understanding, it's not something that I do with my daughter, but I understand that EFT, emotional freedom tapping or technique, is very good when it comes to anxiety too. So it might be something for you to explore with your son at such point, because you don't want to overwhelm him with so many things happening. But I've heard that EFT is quite good for releasing anxiety.
Brilliant. Oh, I'm going to look into, I've heard of that as well, actually. I did, funnily enough, I don't know how to do it, but I was doing this to him, like, this is part of EFT, isn't it? And I don't even know, but I was just going, I am strong. I don't even know, I was tapping at random places. I thought, I'm doing this right. But I even tried, because I'm a hypnotherapist, I did try and do hypnotherapy with him recently. And bless him, I don't know if because we're so close, I was doing like walking him down the stairs to get him in the, you know, hypnotic state. And he was just like, oh, do you want me to go down the stairs now? And I went, no, in your mind. And I thought, do you know what? We'll try this another day. Let's just try it.
He wasn't quite ready for that next level status.
But again, you mentioned it, it's that power of repetition and dealing again with that subconscious mind. It's the minimum of 21 days. So even if you do something with your child for 21 days, it's just going to be so profound impact on their mind as well. I want to talk about all the positive things about the different people, the charities. I know there's one specific charity that's helped you a lot. Can you talk to us about that, and how, again, other parents can seek out that support?
Yeah, absolutely. So when Jada got her diagnosis when she was 18 months, the health visitor actually popped through, and she was like, there's a really great local charity and it's called Play Skill. Have you heard of Play Skill? And I said, no, I've not heard of Play Skill. So basically, it's a local charity to where I live, and they help children who have special educational needs, who have physical impairment, learning impairments, and they are a wonderful charity. Now, they're completely unfunded. They rely upon grants, funding, fundraising activities in order to be able to thrive and to continue to support the children and their families, which I think is so incredible. So they can support children up until the age of about 5 or when they leave for school. And I've been so blessed that they've been able to support me and my daughter for all of those years. From the age, it was actually when she was 2018, we started seeing them in the autumn. Now she has just graduated because she's turning 5 in January, and the term's finished now. So that means there's no more support in terms of her going to these sessions. So the sessions are run normally on site, but because of the whole COVID situation, they were so phenomenal that they did online sessions where she still had access to occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech and language therapists. And it was so great that they were able to carry on that provision during that time where even more so, we needed support as parents and families and the children so that they had that continuous input and intervention. Play School have taught me so much. Because
God, do you know what? Sorry, I just even just hearing that, because I know so many parents struggled through the whole lockdown period, and obviously even now, and so many things were shut. So many schools unfortunately couldn't help. And for your daughter, you know, to continue to get that provision, and like you said, this it makes, even this makes me emotional as well, because it's like whoever, I don't know who set up this charity in your area, but they set it up and they did it to help parents. They're not even funded,
wonderful.
You know?
Not even funded. Now, her name is Andrea Clark, and she has a physiotherapist background, and she has built this charity from scratch, enlisted phenomenal people to help support along the way, got funding from children of need and so forth, so children in need, so that they can thrive and they're continuously out there. And it's just it's a family. When you go there, you feel like a family. So even though we've graduated, I'm still part of the Play School family. I'm going to be a graduate member, whereby I can still attend like support groups, parent events, and all of that. I can still attend that. And I'm really, really looking forward to be able to carry on with those provisions that Play School can offer. It's just going to be absolutely
I really want to emphasize this point as well, because again, when a parent is just on their knees and they're trying to get help and support and they can't do it, I want you to remember this story from Tarisha and just think there is light out there. And unfortunately, sometimes it does. And I really hope this changes very, very soon. But it can take years for people to get that support. But just keep thinking there are charities out there. There are people out there that will help you. And what I've learned recently as well is that it is a numbers game. And that sounds very unemotional, but sometimes you've got to try and separate yourself from your own situation, don't you? And think, okay, and you know, the word we use, peaceful warrior. I'm going to fight for my child, but I'm going to treat people with respect and kindness and empathy, because, and this is not me making excuses for the sector, because goodness me, my son has been failed so much, but it's actually, and this gives you power when you do this. It's understand the issues that they've got. I'm not saying it's right that, you know, it can take years to get your child an educational healthcare plan or get them access to, I'm not saying that's right, but having that understanding, well, you used the word as well before, the acceptance of, okay, that unfortunately is the situation, but we're going to do something about it, because something can always be done, can't it?
It can 100%. there are certain things, when it comes to what we can control, that we can control, or we can manage, or we can navigate. I like to use the word kind of navigate in terms of how we go with the flow and how we work with the system. Because yes, I appreciate that the system is inundated right now. It's inundated with so many cases, so many applications. And for the people who are dealing with it, of course, they're probably going to go into a state of busyness, overwhelm. And as you said, it's coming from a place of empathy and understanding. And equally, it's a case of, okay, let's be a peaceful warrior and really assert my child's case too, because it is a numbers game. And if you don't follow up, you can easily slip down the file, down the list. So you do have to be on the case. And that's exactly what I've had to do with my daughter, because we're going through an EHCP process. So I have had to be on the case, chasing things up, but I do it in a very polite manner. You're not going to build up rapport and a relationship with people who you're meant to be spending that time with in order to develop provisions and plans and procedures if you're going to be rude, abrupt. I know we have our frustrations, but there's a little bit of emotional intelligence that has to be applied to, get people on board, get people on your side, and then it's more, you'll be recognized for that, and I'm going to be more than likely to want to support you and help you even more so, because I'm like, okay, she's got a level of understanding, compassion, empathy. Let me deal with her.
Unfortunately, like, I know parents watching this, and trust me, I'm still going through this. It is so frustrating. You can get so angry, but it's use that anger in a positive way. Like, put that into something positive, actually, like fighting for your child, putting in those emails kindly. And, I am going to say this as well, because it is basically like a psychological game you've got to play. Because I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm writing an email, I'm like, dear, like doing it all nicely, but I'm doing it like this, because I'm just like, it is that level of frustration of, why aren't you helping my child? But I know that if I'm gonna show that anger, then you get labeled as the aggressive, unreasonable parent. And none of us are that, because we're fighting for our children at the end of the day. And I have so much empathy with all these parents that are fighting at the moment, because it's so difficult. We get so much pressure, don't we? We've got to be calm. We've got to remain stable and reasonable. And not only are we fighting, but we've also got to be there for our children who have got these additional needs. And I don't know how you get through this as well, but one of the things that makes me kind of calm down and stay in line is, I look at my son and I think he's watching me. He's watching me, how I'm responding. And if I'm going to be like, oh, what is the score? He's just gonna he's already got his own, anger issues. If he sees his mum doing the same, I want to make sure I'm being that role model for him as well.
Absolutely. It's about modeling excellence, as I say. And if energetically as well, children pick up on it. So even if we're not verbally saying something, energetically, if we've got this tension around us, children can pick up on that too. So it's a case of really doing our best to navigate our emotional and mental states, come into a place of calm. You can type out an angry email. There's been times when I've been like, and then I stop and I think, okay, take a moment. Let's reword that now. I feel calmer.
Take out the words.
Take out that word there. I'll just change that word slightly. I will reword that sentence so much. And then I get to a place like, okay, if I was on the receiving end, because we have to remember there's still human beings on the receiving end, how would I feel if I was to receive that? I've had times in my career where I've been completely overwhelmed, stressed, feeling busy. And if I was to get an angry email, that's not going to help where I am right now. So a nice, softer email might be what they just needed to hear at that moment. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to respond any quicker. But what it does mean is that on a human level, there's some form of connection, because we're all connected to each other. So I think, on a human level, we can just still apply that. And I do believe in that the good that you do comes back to you. Sometimes it's not immediately. However, if we can strive, despite our frustrations, to do our best to work with the system, then I think that's all that we can do.
100%. And it's about, and again, this can be hard when your child has been, you know, gone through so much injustice as well, and, you know, all the issues we just deal with being a mum. But if you can get to that state of love, showing love to people, that is the highest thing that you can do. And I promise, when you get to that stage, and again, I don't do it all the time because there's always so much going on, but when I do my meditation, when I do these affirmations and really step into everything I've learned as well as a hypnotherapist, it's when I get to that state of actually putting out love to that person, it does change the situation. It might sound bizarre to people.
Yeah, it sounds woo,
crazy, doesn't it? It's like, love thy neighbor. But remember, it's about you. You're not, if you're always angry, you're putting your own body and cells and everything into stress. And that is going to make you ill. So it's all this. And I know if a parent's listening to this, like, this is a lot, but trust me, just really keep working on yourself, and get to that highest point, because people are going to look at you then that are on the receiving end. They're thinking, wow, they're like, this woman, like, she keeps going. And they, like Tarisha said, they will, you might get to the top of the pile. I'm not saying you might.
Exactly, by building that. And exactly like what you said, Vina, no, it can take a lot of time to be able to rewire the way that you think and you feel. It's not an overnight process, so you do have to go very gently with yourself. I think I'm very fortunate that I have this relationship master coach background. I've had the ability to work on my mindset over the years, so that has given me a great foundation for dealing with some of the challenges and frustrations that have presented themselves along the parenting journey. And not only that, there's some really great, incredible support out there. If you are feeling frustrated, or you're feeling challenged, or you're feeling upset, stressed, whatever emotions you're going through, there's things such as Sendias, which is a charity out there that can offer some tremendous support when it comes to the special educational need process, disabilities. There's also another charity, I think it's charity, or it could just be an organization. I don't think they're all charities, but it's SOSEN. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, Vina. So it's
SOS Sen.
SOS exclamation mark SEN.
Yes.
SOSEN.
I've heard,
That's a really great online support that you can have a look at to get some more information. But not only that, each council should have a local offer for children, for family. And if you just would go into the search engine and put local offer for your council, it should bring up your local offer, and it will list so much available resources, provisions, therapies, services that can support you along the journey too.
You know, I'm smiling so much now because I believe in alignment and all of this. And just yesterday, believe it or not, well, you will believe this because that's the first time yesterday, and you're mentioning it again, which has reminded me that I need to do this, is about the local offer. I was talking to someone in a council in another area, and I was like, look, I've done all of this. I listed all the stuff I've done to get help and support for my son. And then he said, oh, what about Oxfordshire local offer? And I went, what's that? And then I was like, oh, that's one thing that I haven't done. So I've added that, and thank you, because you've just reminded me.
Reminder. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great resource to go to. But again,
that existed. Never knew it existed.
Though, without talking about these situations and spreading awareness, it can become overwhelming, and we don't know where to find these resources. And that's not because of anything that we're doing wrong, quote unquote wrong. It's just because awareness needs to be spread a lot more about it. And the thing is also, I'm not sure about for anybody who's watching this, they have a school newsletter, because in my daughter's school newsletter, at the back they do list provisions that can help with special educational needs too. So it might be a case of looking at the school newsletter and seeing whether they incorporate a section for that.
Yeah, and even if they don't have that, even actually just, again, I know some parents may have issues with the school, but just putting in a nice email and just asking the Senko or whoever you're in contact with, actually just ask them, oh, I'm just doing a bit of research at the moment, I'm just trying to get some more support for my child outside of school. have you heard of any charities? Because again, if you don't ask people, you're not going to know. They could say something and you're like, what? And I think that's how I found out about SendYes. I either did a Google or just asking people, where can I get support? And someone mentioned SendYes, and again, I'd never heard of them up until a few months ago. I want to talk more about GDD, if that's okay as well. Just for you to give, actually, before we go on to kind of maybe your advice for parents to help their child who has got GDD, and just maybe even just, raise awareness for other parents if they've got a friend who have got a child, just to, so they can have more understanding of it. Before we get into that, again, I want to go right back to the beginning of so many questions I had when you were talking so beautifully before. And one of the things I wanted to pick up on was the thing of, when our children are little, and especially I've only got one kid as well, so sometimes you don't know if they are hitting those milestones. But again, how can a parent understand that difference? Because I remember when my son was much younger and, he was hitting all those milestones, he was talking, and a parent came up to me, she was like, my daughter's the same age as your son and she does not talk at all. And I just said to her, it's all right, because they all just catch up by 5. A lot of them, they go to school and you don't know who wasn't talking at 2. But now obviously her daughter has gone on and she does talk. But now looking back and hearing you speak, actually, what if that child didn't end up speaking? I mean, can you see a clear sign from when they are about 1.5 or 2 years? And again, what was your experience with that?
Sure. I think a common myth or misconception about GDD is that the child will catch up. And you hear that a lot. When they go to nursery or when they go to reception of school, they'll pick up on the other kids talking, then they'll start to. It's not necessarily the case. There is some form of intellectual impairment that is causing this. It's not necessarily just a delay and they will catch up. So what I would strongly encourage a parent to do, if they do feel that they're not hitting the milestones, give and take, there is room for it. But if, let's say, after a significant period of time, you're thinking something just doesn't feel right, and a lot of it comes from feeling, not by knowing. It's like, what feels funny right now? I would say is to reach out to your health visitor, have a conversation, because they're more than likely to be the person who can refer you onto a community consultant pediatrician who will specialize in that. Now, when you're able to have an assessment with the pediatrician, you may get a diagnosis of GDD. It kind of feels like a all overcatching kind of diagnosis, kind of a bit like the autism spectrum. You can go from one scale to another, you can be along the spectrum. GDD is quite similar to that. So the level of delay, or the amount of delay, is going to vary for each kid. There's no sort of, they were hit it at this time, they were hit it at that time. You can't timeline it, so to speak. But that'll be the first thing I say. Speak to your health visitor, see if you can get a referral to a community consultant pediatrician.
With the health, this was because my son's nearly a teenager now. I can't actually remember that some of that stage. How long do we have here in the UK as well? Do we have health visitors for until they're 4 or something, or is it those?
My daughter's health visitor will check in with me every 3 months still. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's because she's got a diagnosis, however, so she's still stayed on the books. But I know that you remember the red book that you get.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah. Now, I believe you used the red book up until the age of 5, so you may still have a health visitor up until the age of 5.
Right. So I'm just curious, because if a parent maybe is listening to this and they don't have a health visitor, I mean, just go to the doctor anyway.
Go to the doctor, absolutely. Speak to your GP about it, and they may say, okay, fine, let's refer you on to a community pediatrician who can do various different assessments, analysis, and come up with it. If you get that diagnosis, then you'll be able to put these stepping stones in place, like what we did for my daughter, in terms of getting the the therapies, we did various different assessments. She's gone to Great Ormond Street to do various different tests. And that all has come from the direction of the paediatrician.
Right. Teresa, you're amazing. You're so amazing. I'm sending you so much love, and I really help this I just mixed my, I really help this hopes. I really hope this helps. Other parents watching this as well. And I just want you actually to end this podcast on, actually, number one, we'll leave all of Teresa's links below. So if you want to contact her, and maybe if it's okay with any questions, or if you comment them below, I'll get Teresa, if it's obviously okay with her, to come back. And if anyone's asked any questions, Teresa will comment back to you as well. But I just want you to kind of just shine out your positivity to parents. And if your child has just been diagnosed with GDD, or maybe you're on your way, I want you to know that it's a positive thing. This really is a positive thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Know that your child is extremely gifted and unique. Not here to be just like everybody else, but to stand out and make a difference. Your child is here to shine their light upon the world and to teach us all. Okay, the world has so many differences, and we need to be embracing those differences in a very positive way. You're not alone. There's so many people out there that you can reach out to. There's so many provisions and therapies in place that can help your child to thrive. Having a diagnosis is actually a very positive thing, because now you can work with your child in order to help them with their strengths and their capabilities. You can now really look at the areas of improvement and say, okay, what can we work on gradually, and work with your child in order to help them thrive and to be the best version of themselves. It might look a little bit different to everybody else, but that's okay. It's about really accepting it and to know that you are doing a fabulous, amazing job. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing the best that you can do. For you, I'm a strong believer that it's so important that we take care of ourselves as parents, because you have to pour into your own cup so that you can then pour from the overflow. The child is only going to get the best of you when you are giving the best to yourself. So please do take great care of yourself, mind, body, and even spirit, if you believe in that, because that's really going to set the bar for the relationship you have with your child and all of the wonderful experiences that you're going to have together going forward.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And you are amazing. You're frigging amazing. And yeah, I just want to say as well, it's that it's limiting other people's thoughts and society onto you as well. Because I've felt that pressure of when I'm just focusing on me and my son. Yes, it is. I'm not going to lie. It is difficult on a day-to-day basis, but it's actually when I'm taking on that external, that's when I get stressed and angry. But just put that to one side, just focus, as Teresa said so beautifully, focus on yourself, focus on your child. What matters, isn't it, at the end of the day?
What you said is really important, that you protect your energy. And if you can associate yourself with like-minded people who support you, who are going to encourage you, and you can get that from various different online groups. There's amazing Facebook groups out there and social media groups and other platforms too that can support you along your journey. You're not alone, but associate yourself with people who help to uplift you and to help you feel very positive about the journey that you are on.
Oh, definitely. And keep listening to the Mum to Millionaire podcast, because we've got amazing women like Teresa coming on every single week. So make sure you subscribe if you're not done so already. If you're watching this on video, hey, this is on the Mum to Millionaire YouTube channel. And you can also listen to this on Spotify and iTunes. Teresa's links will be linked below. We'll also have a beautiful picture of her and video up on the Mum to Millionaire Instagram with her handle there as well, instagram.com/Mum to Millionaire. And just step back into yourself, reclaim your power. And as Teresa said, be a peaceful warrior. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you for having me.